Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure for me to join with all of you in such a special setting as the second summit of sustainable destinations. At Impulsa Balears Foundation, we really share the slogan of this year, leading the transformation. In fact, in Balearic Islands, we really believe that we are in transition. The new paradigm of circular economy has recently gained importance on the agendas of policymakers to reduce the vulnerability of the tourism system and increase the resilience for sustainable and human livelihoods. Balearic Island companies are increasingly aware of the opportunities promised by the circular economy, according to its expected contribution to significantly optimize resource use, reduce greenhouse emissions, while at the same time offer new opportunities within the travel and tourism industry. The total number of circular initiatives spotted in the Balearic Islands at this moment is 108. The core elements of these initiatives, of these circular initiatives, are prioritizing regenerative resources, stretching the lifetime of products, and using waste as a resource. In this context, and based on the conviction that sustainability is a key lever of prosperity, the circular economy is positioned to be an important road of progress in boosting sustainable transformations. In fact, the United Nations believes that the circular economy is an accelerator of the 2030 agenda, and that tourism can make significant contributions to the fulfillment of sustainable development goals. Convinced of this, at Impulsa Balears Foundation, we have recently launched REN. REN is a regenerative movement for the future of the Balearic Islands. REN is a movement aimed at promoting and accelerating the transition towards a circular tourism system. Based on this, luckily, we are not starting from scratch. During the last years, we have built our own strategic framework, pioneering at international level to facilitate hotel companies to create circular connections along their value chain. The support of the UNTO and the expert leadership of Iberostar Group has been essential to build and deploy a technical framework with the capacity to identify three things. The first, the assets and the process that can support circular practices. The second, new circular line of actions. And finally, the key circular progress indicators. Our framework is structured in 3 building blocks and 9 vectors, which respond to the fact that any circular strategy is supported by the effort that companies can make in terms of investment, innovation, and governance. It's carried out from the internal processes, supplies, and the provision of the services, and is developed with the participation of the main stakeholders, workers, suppliers, and customers. Within this structure, the framework assumes the triple perspective: strategic, operational, and also cultural, recommended by the UN Global Compact Program. Based on this structure, and ensure that the translation of the strategy in action, the framework considers also 13 economy guidelines, which apply to 103 hotel assets and processes. In addition, convinced that a careful selection of indicators are key for a successful circular transition, we have addressed with the 13 hotel companies forming part of our board of directors, the technical challenge of developing a self-diagnosis application to measure the circular progress, iCircuit. iCircuit is based on 33 indicators and allows at any hotel to evaluate its circular performance with respect to the 3 pillars and the 9 vectors that our strategic framework proposes to facilitate the design and the implementation of circular initiatives and good practices. But more dedicated actions are needed to add more actors to the circular transition in the Balearic Islands. On the one hand, it is necessary to bring the circular economy to the core of the company's business model. To do this, we have developed with ENOR and tested with ARTIEM hotels a guide which facilitates the formulation of circular business strategy through 10 steps and 3 stages. On the other hand, to capitalize this moment at regional level, Impulsa Balears has published recently Imagining a Regenerative Future for the Balearic Islands, the bet to move towards a circular tourism system, an invitation to private and public stakeholders to forge new regional visions that turns the circular economy into the strategy, principle, and the rich network of institutions, activities, assets, and capacities that interrelates our tourism system into its main ally and promoter. A new regional vision that points the regenerative tourism that not only aspires to reduce the demand of materials and resources and minimize the negative impacts, but also to repair the accumulated negative externalities and above to activate new levers in favor of creating new value. This is so because circular economy opens the doors to a restorative tourism, and from this position to a real and viable possibility of building a regenerative future. An ambitious bet that goes far beyond ecotourism or green tourism, which seek to minimize impacts, and even further, the so-called sustainable tourism, which guarantee neutral impact. This is our bet for the Balearic Islands, a bet of development, where economy, environment, and society goes hand in hand to build long-term value through tourism. Because the challenge for the Balearic Islands at this moment is to radically connect with the future. It is not the first time that the Balearic Islands have moved from the present to the future. We have already transformed the reality of our islands in the past, and by extension of Spain. If we have already positioned Spain at international level as a pioneer in tourism with a clear developmentalist vocation, why are we not going to do exactly the same now with a clear regenerative vocation? Hoping that time will give us new opportunities to share advances and concerns, I would like to close this talk with a wish. It's a wish that Javier Marias expressed very well. Never disdain imaginative ideas. They are rich only after much thought, much reflection, and much study, and remarkable daring. Thanks. To talk about all of this, it is a pleasure to have the experience of 2 hotel companies from our islands that feel very close to the circular economy and thus demonstrate it in practices. I welcome Gloria Fluxà, Vice President and CCO of Grupo Iberostar. Yeah.
Gracias, Tony.
And José Díaz Montañés, CEO of ARTIEM Hotels. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can share just here if you want. Yeah,
¿Dónde los quieres?
yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. Good. Thanks so much to share this afternoon with all of us. I would like to start the conversation with something, but perhaps very basic, but from the outset, very striking. ARTIEM is a small company. Iberostar Group is a multinational. the circular economy feels good to all companies. What do you think, Gloria?
Thank you, Tony. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. A pleasure to be here at this event. I think that it is undeniable at this point that circular economy has a very positive impact. At Iberostar Group, we're still a multinational family with more than 67 years of experience in tourism. We have 100 properties in our portfolio across 16 countries and with a community of 33,000 employees. And we're firm believers that circular economy is vital and key. And we keep on striving, improving that, leading a model of responsible tourism. Responsible tourism for us means finding the right balance between a tourism model that leaves profitability, great client experience, but also leaves a legacy. And part of that legacy, the vector, is circular economy. We're definitely sure about that. And looking at Iberostar and what circular economy has helped Iberostar, it has helped in many aspects. For example, in innovation, we've innovated a lot in client experience. A guest that now goes to Iberostar can envision a room with a single-use plastic environment. They can definitely come with their children, enjoy their experience, and serve themselves unlimited water with no use of plastic. And that's a phenomenal awareness tool for a family that is enjoying their vacations, but is still there. In all the properties, we own a lot of the assets. We're investing a lot in the green plot ratio. So we know we want to have 25 more green spaces in our hotels using native local species, and also reducing 30% the use of water in our hotels. So that's a benefit for the well-being of our guests, but at the same time, it's thanks to the focus of circularity. Another example is gastronomy. We're really focusing on our seafood offering and having the vector of lifting up local in all the countries and destinations where we operate. So really circularity comes in key, helping the communities, knowing the traceability of the product, using the seasonalities and learning about fishing bans and respecting that, but with gastronomical quality and offering. So again, it's innovation, it's client experience. It's helped us a lot in operational procedures. So the way we do things, we've generated a lot of efficiency. Another aspect would be decarbonization. Thanks to circular economy, we're on our road to become decarbonized. Thanks to circular economy as well, we know that we have a visibility of where we want to lead the company now for the future as well. Finding the right talent that will help that growth for the company. And it's become very powerful for us because it's generated a purpose. Everybody knows what the future of a long-withstanding family business is, what kind of legacy they want to leave in the sector and where they want to take it to. And that's clearly an impact. And I think we must not forget the dependency that our sector has in a lot of aspects that are crucial and vital for circularity. The dependency on our supply chains, the dependency on materials, the dependency on the quality of the destinations. If we don't have a circular approach in our destinations, we won't take care of their more important assets, which is the beach and the water quality. If we don't take that into account and take that dependency, it will be very difficult to write the future. So definitely, yes, circularity does feel good.
Good. And Pepe, what about the circular economy for a small company?
Bueno, en primer lugar, agradecer la invitación, esta jornada muy interesante. La economía circular para nosotros es un estilo de vida, es una forma de pensar, es una forma de vivir la vida, ¿no? Y si pensamos un poco es como vivían nuestros abuelos. La economía circular viene a ser lo que nuestros abuelos hacían, ¿no? Y por lo tanto lo vemos como una responsabilidad de recuperar esa cultura, esa forma de pensar, ese estilo de vida que tenían nuestros abuelos, para nuestros hijos, nuestros nietos, los hijos de nuestros nietos, ¿no? Yo siempre digo que la economía circular es algo así como el egoísmo inteligente. Es decir, cuanto más lo practicas, más engagement tienes de tu gente, más compromiso, más propósito. Cuanto más lo practicas, tienes más reputación, tus clientes te valoran. Cuanto más lo practicas, generas más valor económico, generas valores intangibles y tangibles. Es decir, es una gran palanca de transformación, que simplemente es recuperar la forma de pensar y vivir que teníamos 50 años atrás, ¿no? Y eso es lo que yo creo que es la economía circular. Y por lo tanto, las empresas que asuman interioricen esta visión o esta forma de pensar, creo que se van a dar un salto cualitativo muy importante, creando un valor intangible que al final se va a traducir en competitividad.
Good. In fact, the truth is that the Iberostar Group and RTM hotels have long considered the circular economy as a new paradigm of consumption and production to be applied. But in many cases, circular economy reach companies in the form of new trends or new vectors of social responsibility. I have the feeling that circular economy sometimes is not considered as a true strategic principle of change, a vector of creation of value, a road of progress, such, for example, digitalization. No? But you both have already passed this point. Then how can be integrated from the beginning, the circular economy in the core of the business model of a hotel company?
Sure. I think, Tony, from the beginning, there must be a very strong and genuine conviction. So you need to find the right ambassadors within the organization that are truly convinced about it. You need to find the right talent. I think we're very fortunate to be surrounded in Iberostar by a great team of more than 28 engineers, marine biologists, scientists that do give the strategy and they support all the muscle of the 32,000 employees that the organization has. So definitely conviction, definitely talent. I think there also needs to be an ingredient of time. One must not be in a rush, because if you really want to do it right, you need to look at the long term and you need to really integrate it in the way you do things. And if you do it that way, it does permeate to the culture of your organization. I think the words from Pepe were very true. If you do it, as we were both mentioning, there's such a strong purpose, and that culture is incalculable, and it really generates a lot of traction in all aspects of the organization. So that is a given if you want to really incorporate it in the core. And also what we've realized from Iberostar's perspective is that if you integrate it at the core, the rhythm that you do the know-how is much, much faster, because you're learning from all angles. It's all seamlessly integrated. It's all transversal. And I believe that because of that reason, you're really having a fast speed of learning and know-how acquiring. We started firmly, strategically betting on circular economy a couple of years ago. And at the beginning, it was single-use plastics-free environment in 2020. Now we also have the target of becoming waste-free, not sending waste to landfill by 2025. So we already have a team of more than 250 people in our organization, just envisioning how we can treat that waste, segregated well, extract the value, and help the destinations and the communities to have a better management in that aspect and work together. We are also having a target of becoming carbon neutral by 2030. And in order to do that, in the know-how, we've realized how important decarbonization is for that, right? So we presented last year our decarbonization roadmap at the Co-op 27. It is very, very focused on the next steps, very pragmatic. We tend to be very pragmatic. And we realized, turning to the know-how again, how important Scope 3 for us was. So we're definitely looking at a strategy on how to mitigate that Scope 3, on how to collaborate even further, and how to really measure that. On Scope 1 and 2, we're doing everything that is in our hands, because we've realized as well that there are available solutions. So we're taking the right steps in electrifying our properties. We just opened our first fully electrified hotel here in Mallorca last week, with all the operations looking at how to do that, how to really establish the procedures for it to be a rollout in all of our properties, and how to extract the best practices from it. We're also looking on how to have energy efficiency. So we have a climate change manager, depending on our investment department, calculating our baseline energies and looking at how can we do efficiency procedures, how can we put best practices to our staff community, and how can they really have an energy efficiency. And that was already happening in 2022 with results for the organization. The way we also look at looking at energy purchasing, all our PPAs, revisiting that. In Spain, we already have recs for all of our consumption, but that is going forward. So that know-how just means that circularity, once you get on the loop, it's a constant evolution. And from there now, Iberostar with all of its mistakes, but it's also having a really firm look at circularity with a plan of 360 degrees. We're presenting our roadmap this year in 2023 with concrete targets, and they're based in 3 principles that teach us the why. Right? Principles inspired by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. We have 7 levers that have come from the inspiration of what the European Union is guiding as leverages, and also 10 areas because it shows us the where and where we want to put the focus. So that governance is key. And coming back to the collaboration, which is a word you always hear when you talk about circularity, what we've also realized is that the governments will really show you how all areas in an organization need to collaborate in order to make the right steps and make a strategic circular economy plan.
Pepe, we really need a systematic vision to introduce the circular economy in the core of the business model of the companies.
Nosotros realmente hemos ido aprendiendo. Es decir, no tenemos un modelo. La Fundación Impulsa nos ayuda mucho a modelar. No tenemos estamos construyendo un modelo y tenemos unas pautas que hemos tratado de desarrollar para crecer y para avanzar y para ir más rápido si cabe, ¿no? Pero al fin y al cabo lo que supone esto es compromiso con nosotros y con la sociedad, ¿no? Entonces, yo creo que había una serie de elementos que son importantísimos. La primera es que la alta dirección y la propiedad de la compañía lo tenga interiorizado, lo vea como algo importante, o sea, como número 1 de su agenda, ¿no? Porque si la propiedad y la alta dirección no lo tiene claro, es muy complicado el desplegarlo, es un tema cultural, ¿no? La segunda cosa muy importante que nosotros hemos tratado de hacer es plantear objetivos o metas, estrategias aspiracionales, es decir, que muevan a la acción, que ilusionen, que emocionen, que sean imposibles, pero que nos obliguen a pensar diferente, que nos obliguen a salir de la zona de confort. Una vez tienen las metas más o menos definidas, consensuadas por supuesto, pero siempre muy ambiciosas, se trata de definir unos indicadores, unos key results que nos digan en ese camino que va a ser duro, que va a ser de dificultades, que va a ser de avanzar y de retroceder, que nos digan que vamos avanzando en el camino adecuado, ¿no? Evidentemente, para poner esto en marcha, todos los procesos operativos de la compañía tienen que estar impregnados de esto. Es decir, cualquier operación, en el caso de una compañía hotelera, desde un proceso administrativo hasta un proceso de operaciones muy básico, tiene que tener integrado esa cultura de la circularidad como cultura. Para ello, muy importante es la formación de la gente. Pero yo más que la formación por formación, yo hablaría de evangelización, es decir, de convencer, de ilusionar, de que la gente lo vea como una forma de vivir y que va a beneficiarse no la empresa ni el cliente, él mismo como persona, ¿no? Y luego, finalmente, cuando tienes montado todo esto, dices, vale, y esto, si se queda en casa, no sirve para nada. Entonces, lo que hay que hacer es tratar de construir un pequeño ecosistema. En nuestro caso, somos una empresa pequeña, no somos Iberostar, pero bueno, a nuestro nivel tratamos de construir un ecosistema de empresas con las que poder colaborar, compartir, crecer conjuntamente, asumir retos a nuestro nivel para poder desarrollarnos, ¿no? Al final, la economía circular nos permite estructurar todo esto, nos permite darle un sentido, nos permite darle un modelo que poder impulsar, ¿no? Pero al final de todo es compromiso y convencimiento, empezando por arriba. Si la persona de arriba no está convencida, esto no funciona.
I completely agree with Pepe. In fact, to successfully implement circularity, what we need is 3 vision. One operational, the other one is a strategic, and obviously is a cultural vision. To help companies to integrate circular economy, we developed a framework to hotel circularity last years, and according to the expertise of Iberostar Group. Then, Gloria, what has it meant for the company to have this instrument, to have a strategic framework, like consider the UN Global Compact Program, strategic, operational, cultural?
Well, I must say, Tony, that having that framework and the work of Impulsa was the first mover, and it was very inspirational to have it. So we're very thankful for the support of Impulsa and the way that meant that it was a great kickoff because at the time when it was launched, there was no methodology or theory about how to implement circular economy in the hospitality and the tourism sector. So definitely it was not easy. It was a process, but we felt that it was a kickoff and it was inspirational. And when you look at it now, it is great to see how many other initiatives have flourished, right? You have Segitur, for example, with their guide. You have their national plan of circular economy here in Spain. So you have the green plan from a European perspective. So the whole that is just proven how that was inspirational at the beginning, and it's given that momentum. And I think it came at the right time, because it was a moment where we were all coming out of the pandemic. We were coming out of critical moments, and having that framework for us was very useful, because you realized you wanted to do it. There was a lot of traction, there was a lot of intention, but without a framework, you wouldn't have arrived and you wouldn't have been able to take the right steps, because you might have very good intentions, but you need a little bit of process to be able to do that. So the framework was very helpful. And I think that the use of the framework for us was that having a plan and a very well landed framework will also help you to collaborate better on internal and external levels. On an internal level, thanks to a framework, we're able to detect that if we work well and we have the right data, we can also look at having certain financial advantages as well, because we can have some access to financing that is really linked and targeted to sustainability and having a very well-planned ESG structure within the organization. Or when we talk to our insurance companies and our assets coverage, when they realize that thanks to a circularity plan and a very well-structured ESG plan, you're able to minimize the risk for them when you're an asset owner and you operate beachfront properties, that is also a given. So having a framework will help you to prioritize, to look at that, take a step back and realize how important that is. Another vector that I think for us has been very intensive in this past months, thanks to the framework, is how do we look at our supply chain and how would we work with them? I've mentioned before how vast and important scope 3 is for Iberostar. For us, scope 3 is 70% of our footprint. And out of scope 3, 60% is food and beverage. So you can imagine that we're talking to our top suppliers, our long tail suppliers, helping them, supporting them, finding ways of technology, finding ways where we can do together an SPTI reporting or take steps forward and look at the engagement of that way of working and collaborating with our supply chain. And I think another example for us, when I look at collaboration across the sector, there was a great example here in the Balearics in Mallorca, where we generated the compost, but it was garden hotels that had that composting facility, and we used that and generated that compost together with them. So we're looking forward to having a very long list of examples like that in all destinations, thanks to having a framework, thanks to having things clear, because I think one must not forget that also if you do circularity well, in the long run, it is profitable.
Yeah, true. Pepe, in fact, in ARTIEM, you have recently reformulated your corporate strategy, placing the circular economy just in the center. Impulsa Balears has taken advantage of this fact to test the 10 steps and the 3 stages that we propose in our guide to help also hotels to the circular transition. How useful was for you in this reformulation to have also this instrument?
Wow. Fue una gran oportunidad. O sea, fue una manera de hacernos reflexionar en profundidad, de ponernos contra la realidad y de cuestionarnos nuestro propósito. Que nuestro propósito como compañía de ARTIEM es inspirar a las personas a ser felices, ¿no? Y lo entendemos la felicidad como una frase que leí hace unos años que dice algo así como que la felicidad es encontrar algo superior a ti y dedicarle la vida entera a ello, ¿no? Entonces dijimos, eso superior a mí no puede ser la competitividad, no puede ser la sostenibilidad, tiene que ser algo mayor, tiene que ser algo que realmente trascienda a nosotros, ¿no? Y ahí surgió un poco de esa reflexión con Impulsa y con ANOR, de generar un impacto positivo en donde hiciéramos, que realmente que los hoteles nuestros, en vez de causar menos externalidades negativas, pues en generadores de externalidades positivas, porque la realidad ¿cuál es? La realidad es que el turismo es un derecho social que va a seguir creciendo en los próximos años. La población, leía otro día una estadística que decía que la edad media mundial, la clase media mundial va a crecer en 2.000 millones de personas de aquí al 2030, para en 1.800. Es decir, se va a multiplicar la gente. Entonces, el turismo, si es un derecho social, tenemos que ser capaces de avanzar rápido para que realmente no causemos externalidades negativas, sino que sean positivas, ¿no? Entonces dijimos, bueno, ¿y cómo lo hacemos, ¿no? ¿Cómo conseguimos eso, ¿no? Entonces descubrimos, con este trabajo conjunto con vosotros, descubrimos la teoría del donut, de Key Redwood, que habla de los límites planetarios y sociales, ¿no? Entonces leímos el libro y estudiamos un poco lo que decía esta investigadora de Oxford, y llegamos a la conclusión que nosotros podríamos determinar que podíamos impactar positivamente, podíamos asumir las urgencias planetarias que esta investigadora planteaba. Nosotros como compañía podíamos impactar en 6, ¿no? Y definimos 6 prioridades de compañía que no son 6 prioridades aparte de, son 6 prioridades que están dentro del modelo de negocio de ARTIEM como compañía hotelera. Esas 6 prioridades nos marcaron 6 objetivos que tratamos de conseguir de aquí al 2030, porque la urgencia es mucha. Y de ahí salieron 14 proyectos, algunos de ellos ya estaban en marcha, nos ayudó a ordenarlos, que nos van a permitir pues avanzar, ¿no? De alguna manera, este ejercicio que hicimos con la Fundación Impulsa, del cual estamos infinitamente agradecidos, nos ayudó a poner blanco sobre negro, a poder profundizar en algo tan importante como ese propósito, en analizar nuestro modelo, a ser coherentes, y sin duda alguna yo estoy convencido de que en 3-4 años nos permitirá dar un salto muy grande, cuantitativo y cualitativo.
Sí. Lo cierto, Gloria, es que no podemos hablar de implementar la economía circular y no hablar de la performance, es decir, de la importancia también de monitorizar el seguimiento de todas las acciones que estamos llevando a cabo. En Iberostar las acciones circulares son muchas y variadas, pero imagino que también el sistema de monitorización y de seguimiento de esos objetivos estratégicos también debe ser muy intenso. ¿Podrías explicarnos un poco la importancia que le dais también a esta fase de métrica?
Por supuesto, Spanglish.
Sorry. I do prefer. No, good. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I had to ask.
Thank you.
As you know, Tony, we love data.
Yeah.
We love science.
Indicators.
We love indicators. We know why when we talk about KPIs, because we're hungry for knowledge and thirst on that aspect. And I think methodology and measurement is key if you want to improve, because if you don't measure, you can't improve. And you don't measure, you don't know how you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think for us, that was important from the beginning. I think it was important to generate the right amount of business cases to prove that things are viable. So therefore, the indicators and the methodology of measurement was important. And we have an internal measurement tool that supports and has been inspired by all the different methodologies. Of course, with the work of Impulsa, we have references from the WBSCD, from CTI. We also use Circularity as well as a reference to know that we are having the right indicators and measurement internally, because we, again, as mentioned, we definitely think that measuring is important. We measure as well because we put the focus in the organization. The variable that our management team perceives is also subject to achieving the objectives of what we have in our ESG program and Agenda 2030. So that's a clear conviction point that we're all interested in measuring right and having the right measurements. And measurements, the way we started looking at them is that they have to be present where the action happens. Because you can measure from a headquarter, but really the measurement at a hotel level where the action is happening is what's important for us. So we measure, and we have a platform like Dexpa that our maintenance team can look when they're measuring what their energy consumption is, whether their kitchens are using their appliances well, whether we're using the air conditioning system in the right direction, but that is a generated action-based, immediately based on a hotel level that is there. And for that, the measurement and the KPI is important. The way we use AI for food waste. So that will be immediately used by the kitchen at the hotel level to realize, are they doing the buffets and the measurements and all the food preparation right? Is there anything that we can change? But it does generate a layer of reaction that is more immediate. And the measurement, again, needs to be at that hotel level for it to be implemented and for it to take decisions. I think that also when we talk about measurement, we talk about measurement, but not paralysis,
Yeah.
because you can measure a lot, but you need to also measure in order to take the right actions and the decisions. I think it clarifies expectations. It also clarifies the rhythms, because you might have ambassadors and departments and people that have that culture embedded. So they want to go at a certain speed, but then they contradict and like, no, but let's go back to the measurement. Is this really what was expected of this year? How can we make better progress? How can we compare the different regions? It's a great positive reinforcement when you have different levels of measurement and you make very healthy internal competition to achieve certain goals. So that aspect of measurement for us has been very important. But coming back to the paralysis, it doesn't have to be a measurement that does stall you, because you can't expect perfection in an environment and a world that isn't perfect.
I'm sure, Pepe, you are completely agree with Gloria.
Totalmente.
But on the 30 companies of our board of directors, maybe ARTIEM is one of the big users of iCircuit, our self-diagnosis tool. Then how important is for you to have the possibility not only to measure the progress of the circularity in your company, but also to have the benchmark and compare your progress with the progress with other companies also that operate here in Balearic Islands as a leadership?
iCircuit es una herramienta que es muy potente, es una herramienta que nos ha ayudado a estructurar los indicadores, a complementarlos, los que teníamos. Y lo que dices, Tony, es muy importante, es decir, te da la capacidad de ver el gap de mejora que puedas tener en diferentes áreas en las que te creías que eras bueno, pero no eres tan bueno, con lo cual esa competencia que decía Gloria que puedes generar internamente, la generamos externamente. Es decir, y eso que es sostenibilidad, como decía el conferenciante anterior, la palabra anterior, no hay competidores, hay colaboradores, pero el hecho de ver que tú en un indicador o en un área estás por debajo de otros, dices, bueno, ¿cómo hacen los otros para yo poder avanzar? Entonces, eso nos ayuda a acelerar de forma mucho más rápido el proceso, ¿no? Y es una herramienta que permite eso, y es algo de mucho valor, y que estoy convencido que cuanto más la usemos, más valor va a generar. Y es algo que realmente creo que puede ayudar a acelerar este proceso, porque el problema que tenemos es de velocidad. Hacemos muchas cosas, pero creo que la velocidad es clave en el tiempo que estamos. Con lo cual, es un catalizador, puede ser un catalizador muy importante para desencadenar un proceso de mejora exponencial, que es lo que hace falta.
Completely.
Gloria, we know that the circularity is a systematic process. Then it's impossible that a company as big as possible, or a sector can do the circularity in reality if they don't have good relationships with all the environment. In this point, maybe the normative is very important, the regulation and the role also of the public sector. Then can you explain us how you perceive the moment in the Balearic Islands now? You really think the public sector is pushing the circular economy? What about the new tourism law? What about all the principles, the changes that the environment is demanding at this moment?
Sure. I will start by saying that I fully agree with Pepe that we need the speed and we need the action. And I think in the Balearic cases, we have a great example on how a government is facilitating to the best of the abilities, the environment for the speed to happen, the environment for private-public collaboration to happen. And I think that is key. And the legislation always helps because it does open up roads, open up doors, and in many ways, having a pioneering legislation and the one in the Balearics has been of great support for the private sector as well, that operates in the Balearics and that has seen this. And we firmly believe that the more that is being done, the better. We're there from a public sector's perspective to support it as much as possible. And we wish that the Balearics, being from here, our roots being also from here, Tony, to be a great best case scenario and best case practices. And from our behalf, when we look at collaboration, because none of this will happen with collaboration. We've repeated it a lot of times in the past minutes. We think that there needs to be a lot of generosity in sharing, a lot of generosity in sharing that know-how. Pepe was mentioning how the more we use iCircuit, the more data we will have, the more we will be able to collaborate better, find those common grounds and overlap. So definitely generosity in sharing best practices, having coordination, because if we go in different directions, we won't add up, we won't give economy of scale, we won't give viability to certain actions that might be viable, but we need to be together in that aspect. And I think that is vital for us to do it all together, because I think I leave with a message as well that the cost of inaction is much, much higher than the cost of action.
Yeah.
So definitely starting to do it, getting the speed and integrating it in a business model, it's not only going to be in the long run less expensive, it's going to also be the right thing, and it's also going to be profitable.
Yeah. Pepe, maybe the benefits of the circular economy are not only environment, but also social and economic. But maybe in Menorca, the environmental benefits are very relevant because Menorca is a biosphere reserve, and because it's a small island with a lot of scarcity. Then how do you really think the circular economy will be also a road of progress for Menorca?
Yo creo que la economía circular es y puede ser y será un elemento de cohesión de la sociedad. Es algo en lo que la sociedad menorquina está de acuerdo y es algo que trasciende al poder político, es social y nos va a permitir modelar nuestro estilo de vida, que Menorca es lo que es por cómo hemos sido, pero modelar nuestro estilo de vida teniendo en cuenta que el mundo avanza. Entonces, yo creo que la economía circular juega ese papel en Menorca. Entonces, yo creo que es una gran oportunidad, sobre todo porque cohesiona la sociedad. Hoy en día estamos viendo destinos, Menorca es el caso, como otros destinos en el mundo, en los que el turismo y el residente hay conflictos. La economía circular puede ser el pegamento que ayude a cohesionar el interés local con el interés del turista, y es la fuente de riqueza. Pues eso es lo que yo veo que es la gran oportunidad que tenemos en Menorca, en Baleares y en muchos destinos del mundo.
I have a final question for both. In fact, your testimonial, your experience encourage us to go more faster in the circular transition. But do you really think, in your case, you can play a role of laboratory in Balearic Islands, maybe Iberostar in Mallorca or in all the islands, and you in Menorca? Do you have ideas to play a role like a laboratory in water management or in energy transition or just in food or in mobility? Do you really think the private companies need to make this kind of role at this moment?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think definitely the private companies need to do it. And coming back to your comment about the Balearics, there's so many great examples in the Balearics as well. From Iberostar's perspective, we did a farm-to-table initiative last year where we were using all the organic waste that we were generating to use the cooperatives of agriculture and consume products at the hotel, where the guest was able to see that circularity, enjoy it, have the quality of experience. We had the labs of fully electrified hotels and looking at how those operate that I was mentioning before. Definitely, we're a lab when it comes at the waste management, because all the inspiration of the 3Rs team was born here and then extrapolated and rolled out. So the way we were envisioning it, establishing it, and segregating and looking at what kind of technology, because technology is vital, was also generated here in our headquarters. So being a lab, for us, certainly, our doors are fully open to that collaboration that we're realizing and noticing that is so well needed. And I think, as I was saying, the cost of inaction will be much higher than no action. And I think that the future of the tourism sector needs to be circular. Yes or yes, Tony? Yeah.
And I know, Pepe, that you in Menorca are just forcing the interrelationship between the agricultural sector and the tourism sector also. Then the innovation here is relevant. The experience, just what kind of role just you playing at the moment in this?
Yo creo que la industria hotelera es una industria que es transversal, genera mucho impacto en una cadena de valor grande, ¿no? La ventaja una de las fortalezas que tiene una compañía hotelera es que tiene un conocimiento, tiene una tecnología, tiene una forma de pensar, ¿no? Y muchas veces sectores locales de pequeñas y medianas, pequeñas o muy pequeñas empresas no tienen las capacidades que podrían necesitar. Nosotros lo que sí podemos hacer, y de hecho hacemos, es tratar de apoyar, ayudar a esas pequeñas empresas o autónomos incluso a que puedan mejorar su competitividad para que realmente sean más circulares, ¿no? Entonces, yo creo que los hoteles podríamos convertirnos en una piedra angular de un ecosistema que realmente traccione y que no solamente traccione de estirar, sino traccione de ayudar, que acompañemos digamos, y aseguremos que toda la cadena de valor evoluciona a la misma velocidad, porque si no evolucionamos todos a la misma velocidad, no evolucionamos. O sea, aquí la velocidad la marca el más lento y por lo tanto hay que procurar que el más lento sea el más rápido. Entonces, es labor de todos.
Can you share with us the next challenge from Iberostar Group or ARTIEM Hotel in the circularity transition?
We have many challenges, but but I would definitely state as a highlight for us in 2023 will be the publishing of our roadmap of circularity, thanks to the work of our community of ESG and our strategy lead of circularity. And it will be a roadmap that will have different aspects, like the framework of engagement of the supply chain, tools of understanding how our procurement team must work in the purchasing, and all that will be visible in 2023. And definitely for us, having a circularity roadmap in 2023 will be the highlight, Tony.
Any challenge, Pepe, around the footprint, for example, carbon footprint or the...
Nuestra ambición es, en 10 años, ser una compañía net positive. O sea, no neutral, sino positive, social, económica, medioambientalmente. Ese es un poco el reto aspiracional, muy ambicioso, que es lo que nos está moviendo a transformarnos.
Okay, then thanks so much. As you know, the circularity is now implementing in Balearic Islands, and hope you enjoy this roundtable. And thanks so much to be here with us, and we follow.